Hi guys, Wheelie here. Today I'm going to show you how to make this buttoned up geometric fan infinity scarf. So this scarf has a little bit of a story. A friend of mine recently turned 50 and I wanted to give her something special for her birthday, something that was just for her. And so I sat down and I kind of brainstormed who she is and what would suit her, and I'll just read you what I wrote.
Fabulous 50, warm spring nights, light and lacy, vibrant and alive, many fans.
I really hope I've achieved all of that with this one scarf. So I'm actually wearing her scarf. I'm about to take it off and pop it into a beautiful box and give it to her this afternoon. I really hope she likes it. And I really hope you guys enjoy the tutorial, because I would love it if more people were wearing a scarf that was inspired by my beautiful friend.
All right, let's have a closer look at this pattern before we get into the tutorial. And if you're saving this for later, make sure you check out the end of the video. You'll want to see how the pattern looks without the buttons in a multicolored yarn. And I give you a sneak peek of the matching beanie. You'll also get to see my beautiful mum when I surprise her with the match set as an early Christmas present. So the scarf begins with a little section of single crochet, which will give us something solid to sew the buttons to, and sew the ends of the scarf together with a bit of overlap. Then the geometric fan pattern begins. It's a really simple combination of stitches, double crochet and some chain stitches, nothing overly complicated, and it is a 1 row repeat. So it's the same combination of stitches over and over again until it's as long as you like, or basically until you run out of yarn. Then we finish it off with a single crochet border. It gives a nice uniform evenness to the edges, and it really defines the final row of the fan pattern. When the border is on, you can sew on the buttons. The buttons are optional. I think they give a nice touch, but as I said, I've made this pattern in multicolored yarn and it didn't need the buttons. It had enough interest from the yarn and the pattern. The buttons are decorative. I recommend sewing the ends of the scarf together as well. I've used DK yarn. If you want to use something like worsted weight, that will change the width of your scarf and make it warmer. I don't see an issue with that. I'll give you the pattern multiples, so if you want to, you can adjust the width of your scarf. I'm using this gorgeous colour called Laguna, and I used close to the full ball, or about 295 yards. But of course, you can make your scarf longer or shorter, so you could end up needing more or less yarn. You'll also need the crochet hook your yarn label recommends. So I have my 4mm hook, a pair of scissors, a needle. I've got two here, my favourite one for the tails, and a needle that actually fits through the buttons. Speaking of which, I've got some stitch markers on hand to help me mark the spots I'm going to sew the buttons. You could use safety pins or just pins if you prefer. And I have 3 buttons. These are optional, but if you're using a solid colour yarn and have some pretty buttons to hand, they do give rather a gorgeous finishing touch. Grab your yarn, put a slip knot on your hook, and let's get started. Make a chain of 26. Here's my chain of 26. I like to work into the back of the chain. This smooth side is the front of the chain. I like to work into these bumps at the back. I like the finish it gives. But we're going to put a border on this scarf. So if working into the back of the chain is too fiddly for you, please just work into the chain normally. Count back to the second chain or bump from the hook. So that's 1 bump, that's the second bump, and we'll work a single crochet. Insert your hook. You only need to catch 1 loop of the chain. So I've got 1 loop on my hook and I have 1 loop from the chain. Yarn over and pull through the chain to pull up a loop. There are now 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops to work a single crochet. So we're going to put 1 single crochet into each chain. I will meet you at the end of the row when you have 25 single crochets. That finishes off the first row. You should have a nice little strip of single crochet. We're going to work rows 2 to 10 following the same pattern. All of those rows are going to start by chaining 1 and turning your work. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, it's just to get you up to the right height to work your single crochets, which means you'll put your first stitch of each row just here into the top of the last single crochet from the row below. Or if you prefer, you can count back from above, 1, 2, and work into the second with your first single crochet. If you have trouble recognizing where to work the final stitch in each row, You might like to put a stitch marker in this first stitch so you'll know in the next row where you need to finish. Otherwise, I recommend counting your stitches, checking that you have 25 single crochets in each row. So I'm going to leave you to work rows 2 to 10. I'll meet you at the end of row 10 and we can start the geometric fan pattern together. At the end of row 10, you'll have a little swatch of single crochet that's 25 stitches wide, and we can head into the interesting bit and work the first row of our repeating pattern. Start the row by chaining 3 and turning. For this pattern, that chain of 3 stands in for 1 double crochet and a chain 1. The next stitch is a double crochet, and we're going to work it into that first space where the chain 3 is coming from, the top of the last single crochet in the row below. I've already yarned over, so insert the hook, and you can see I've got 2 loops on my hook and I have the top of that stitch. Yarn over and pull through the stitch. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the double crochet. Work another double crochet in the same space, yarn over and insert your hook. There are 2 loops and the top of the stitch on the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. There are 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the stitch. Skip the next 2 stitches, skip 1, 2, and into the 3rd stitch along, work a double crochet. Yarn over, skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to work a combination of stitches that I'm going to refer to as an open fan, which is 1 double crochet, a second double crochet, chain 1, chain 2, and another 1, 2 double crochets, all into the same stitch. This is the heart of the repeating pattern, the open fan, and if you have a look at the stitches from the beginning of the row, I hope you can see now that they're half of a fan. Let's finish the row so you can have a look at more of the pattern. Skip the next 2 stitches and work a double crochet on its own into that 3rd space. Then skip the next 2 stitches and work an open fan, so that is 1 double crochet, a second double crochet in the same spot, a chain of 1, 2, and then another 2 double crochets in the same spot. Then skip 1, 2 and work a double crochet on its own. Then skip 1, 2 and work an open fan. So remember that is 2 double crochets. Oops. 1, 2 double crochets. Then a chain of 2. And then another 2 double crochets in the same spot. Skip 2, 1, 2, and work a double crochet on its own. And then skip 1, 2, and in this very last spot, we're going to work 2 double crochets. 1, 2 double crochets, a chain of 1, and another double crochet, all in that last spot. Let's have a little look. You should have a half fan on either end and then 3 open fans with solo double crochets separating each fan from the next. I have to pop out for a bit now and I'm taking this crochet with me, but the beauty of a one row repeating pattern is I can keep working on my scarf for now and come back later to show you how to work into the pattern, because it's going to be the same pattern even if I'm at the end of my scarf and you're near the beginning. I had such a lovely night. It was exactly the kind of weather that would have been perfect for this style of scarf. It was a balmy afternoon, it turned quite cool, even though it was beautiful and clear. My son's school camped out. They pitched tents on the oval and had a really fun night. It was one of those moments I really hope the kids remember in crystal clarity, because it was just so perfect. I can't do a lot of the activities, but I love to be there, and I have my crochet to keep my hands busy while I'm waiting for my son to come running back to tell me what he's been doing. What I'm going to show you now is the same pattern of stitches, but because we aren't working into single crochet, it is subtly different. When you're working a repeating pattern like this, it is much easier to recognize the pattern in the row below and copy it than it is to count your stitches. So I'm going to work you through both of those methods, recognizing and copying the pattern and counting your stitches, because I know that when you're still gaining confidence with crochet, it's very helpful to count, but it's a good skill to work towards, because recognizing your stitches when working a pattern like this changes the pattern from being complex to being the kind of relaxing crochet you can do to keep your hands busy while you're concentrating on other things. So we're going to start the row in the same way we started the previous row, with a chain of 3. And then we're going to turn our work over. You'll have to give me a moment because I've got a lot of scarves sitting here. There we go. And the chain of 3 that we just made, it counts as a double crochet and a chain 1. And that is this first stitch here and the chain space. We've replicated that already. So the next stitches we need to work are these 2 double crochets, which are the rest of the half of our open fan. And we're going to place those into the chain space here. So pop your hook in there and work 1, 2 double crochets, and then we'll have a look at the pattern and see what's next. So what's next is this double crochet on its own, because these 2 double crochets, we've already replicated them up here. So we're going to, if you're counting stitches, we're going to skip 1, 2, and we're going to work a double crochet into the top of this double crochet in the row below. So that's our lone double crochet. The next part of our pattern, as you can see, is an open fan. So we're going to work the open fan from this row into the chain space at the top of the open fan from the row below. Or if you're counting stitches, we're going to skip 1, 2, and work into that gap with an open fan, 1, 2 double crochets, 1, 2 chain, and another 1, 2 double crochets into the same space. So we have our open fan from the row below now has an open fan in the top of it. So the next 2 stitches are part of the open fan, so we do skip those. And the next part of the pattern in the row below is this double crochet on its own. So if you're counting stitches, you count and skip 1, 2, and you work into the double crochet. The next part of our pattern is an open fan, and we'll be working another open fan into the top of it there. If you're counting stitches, you skip 1, 2, and work your open fan into that chain space. So 1, 2 double crochets, 1, 2 chain, and another 1, 2 double crochets. So that is the fan replicated. So if you're counting stitches, you skip 1, 2, but if you're recognizing the pattern, you can see that the next 2 stitches were part of the fan. So we've already done that bit.
and the next part of our pattern is this double crochet on its own. So skip 1, 2 and double crochet into the top of that solo double crochet. The next part of our pattern is an open fan. Skip 1, 2 and work an open fan into the chain space. Chain 1, 2 and 2 double crochets in here. To finish off that open fan. Having a look at the pattern in the row below, you'll see we have put an open fan into the top of that open fan. So these next 2 stitches we skip and we'll work a solo double crochet into the top of that one. So skip 1, 2 and work a double crochet. And now we're up to the end of the row. And the row ends with a half fan, so I guess it's a little bit trickier. You need to identify the chain space, and it's the gap between the turning chain here and the first 2 stitches. So it might not be quite as obvious, it does close up a bit. So pull on the turning chain to find that gap and work 2 double crochets into that gap between the turning chain and your double crochet. So 1, 2, and then chain 1, because for our half fans we only chain 1. We're going to work the last stitch into this turning chain. So we're replicating the turning chain, and it's going to be a double crochet, and we're going to work it into the second chain. So that's chain 1 there, and that's chain 2. I want you to catch 2 loops of the chain if you can. I don't mind which direction you go in to catch them. You could go in from the side like this, that's perfectly fine. I tend to go in from the top and catch 2 loops of the chain like that. Whichever you choose to do, neither is better than the other. It's more about being consistent, because where you work that last stitch will just subtly change the look of the side of your piece. And if you switch around and place your final stitch in a different spot every time, you'll get an inconsistent side to your project. And in this scarf, it's not particularly important because we're going to put a border on it, but in some projects, it really does matter. So heading into the next round, we'd chain 3 and turn our work over. And from this point, it really is a repeating pattern. So I'm going to leave you to work it on your own, but I'll give you one last rundown of the pattern before I leave you to it. So we're going to start with a half fan, and we have our chain 3 already. So that stands in for this first double crochet in the fan and the chain 1. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into that chain space, and then we'll skip 2, 1, 2, and work a double crochet into the top of the double crochet from the round below. Then we'll skip 2, 1, 2, and we'll work a fan into the chain space at the top of the fan from the row below. Then we'll skip 2, 1, 2, and work a double crochet into the top of the double crochet from the row below. Skip 2, 1, 2, and work an open fan into the top of the open fan. Then we'll skip 2, 1, 2, and we'll work a double crochet into the top of the double crochet from the row below. Skip 2, 1, 2, and work a fan into the open at the top of the open fan. Then we'll skip 2, 1, 2, work a double crochet into the double crochet from the row below. Then we'll skip 2, 1, 2, and you may need to pull this open to find the chain space, and you'll work 2 double crochets into that chain space, and then chain 1, and finished with a double crochet into the chain 2, 1, 2 of this turning chain, before you head into the next round by chaining 3 and start all over again. I will see you when you're ready to put a border on this scarf. So I finished working the geometric fan pattern section of my scarf. I've ended up with 93 rows of the fan pattern, and that means my scarf measures roughly 138 centimeters or about 54 inches. And I've basically stopped because I know if I work anymore, I won't have enough yarn left to do the border. So speaking of the border, when you are ready to do the border, all you do is chain 1 and turn your work. We're going to work along the side of the scarf first, And what we'll be doing is putting 2 single crochets around each of the double crochets or turning chains. It's nice and easy. So for our first one, we just pop our hook into that space, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and then pop the hook into that same space again, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then you can see there is a little bit of a gap here. We're not going to do anything in that little gap. We're going to go straight and work around the next turning chain. And again, straight around that. So there is a little gaping hole there, but we're just going to ignore it and go straight into that big one.
Pause here and work your way down the side of your fan pattern, and when you're nearing the beginning of the scarf, turn the video back on so I can show you how to work the border around the single crochet section. I'm right at the start of the single crochet. I'm going to work 10 stitches between the start of the single crochet and the corner. My first of those 10 goes just here. This is the top of the last row of single crochet. There's a half fan coming out of the stitch. The next one goes here. Then here. So 1 single crochet in each row. It's not crucial, spread them out as best you can. Don't stress too much if you don't get 10 stitches exactly between the start of the single crochet and the corner. That's one side of the border done. Now we need to work our first corner, and we're going to be working it here in the chain. Remember, I worked into the back bumps, so I'm working into a V, but if you didn't work into the back bumps, you'll just be catching 1 loop of the chain, and the corner is 3 single crochets squished in together. Oops. Now that corner's done, continue single crocheting along the chain. You'll work 23 single crochets and then you'll be ready to work the next corner, and I will meet you there. Here I am at the corner, and just like the other one, we're going to work 3 single crochets into the chain. I'm catching 2 loops because I worked into the back bumps. You might only be catching 1 loop. When that's done, you can turn and work your way back up the other side. We're starting with the border on this single crochet section, and just like the single crochet section on the other side, try to spread 10 single crochets out over this area. The first spot to work into is just here. Now we're heading up along the geometric fan pattern, and it's exactly like the other side of the scarf. Put 2 single crochets around each double crochet or turning chain that makes up the side of the scarf. I'll leave you to do that, and I'll meet you at the top to work the next corner. I've worked my way up the side, and all I've got left is this final half fan here at the very top. I'm going to put 2 single crochets around the turning chain into this gap, and then I'm going to put a single crochet into the second chain of the turning chain. When that's done, we can put a border on the final side of the scarf. Start by working the 2 single crochets around the turning chain. Then put a single crochet into the chain 2, just here. You can locate it if you prefer by counting back. So this is the top of that double crochet. Count back 1 and 2, and that's the second chain that we want to work into. Try to catch 2 loops of it and work a single crochet. With that done, we're going to work along the top of the scarf to finish off the border. What we'll be doing is working into the chain spaces and into the spaces between stitches. We're not going to put any single crochets into the top of a stitch. We'll start by putting 2 single crochets into this chain space. The next space for work is between these two stitches. Make sure you insert your hook under the piece of yarn the arrow is pointing to. We're not going into the top of a stitch, we're inserting the hook between the stitches like this. Then we'll put a single crochet between these two stitches. Insert your hook in there and work a single crochet. And we'll work between these two stitches. And between these two stitches. And we've reached the chain 2 space at the top of one of the fans. We're going to put 3 single crochets in each of these chain 2 spaces. So I'm going to leave you to work the rest of the border across the top of the scarf. You'll place 1 single crochet between each stitch and you'll put 3 single crochets in each of the chain 3 spaces. So I'll meet you when you are at the last half fan to show you how we finish off the border. This is the final half fan. This space is a chain 1 space and I'm putting 2 single crochets into it. And now for the final stitch. Just finish by working a single crochet here. This is the top of the double crochet, but if you can't find the exact top, just work it anywhere around this area. It will be fine. That finishes the border. I'm going to work an invisible join. If you'd rather slip stitch, please do that. I'll walk you through an invisible join in case that's something you'd like to try. I haven't fastened off in any way. I just cut my yarn. I slide out my hook, just pull out the working loop and pull the tail through. Now I can thread the tail onto my needle because invisible joins are worked with a needle rather than a hook. Locate the stitch that you would usually slip stitch to. I would normally slip stitch just here. Invisible joins are worked 1 stitch to the left. Insert your needle into that stitch under 2 loops of it from the back to the front. Try not to split your yarn too badly and pull that through. Now locate the last stitch you made, that last single crochet, and the spot in the stitch that the yarn comes out of, the center of the stitch. Insert your needle into the center of the stitch and take it out into the back of your work and pull it through. If you have a look, that's created something that looks very like the top of a normal stitch, so it's a nice neat way to finish. I'm now just going to weave this in as I would with any tail by taking it back and forth through my work a few times, over sewing. I'm going to weave in all my tails at this point. I'll meet you in just a moment to sew on the buttons and to sew the ends of the scarf together as well. It's time to put the buttons on. To start, lay your scarf out correct side up with the 2 ends overlapping. The correct side is really a matter of taste, but traditionally the wrong side of your border stitches looks like this, and the right side looks like this. Honestly, I think both sides look nice, but one side has to be the back, so pick which one. The single crochet section of the scarf goes at the bottom. Lay the fan end on top of it. I like a fair bit of overlap. It gives a bit more stability to the join, so I bring the top up to about here. That should do it. My buttons are going to go 1, 2, 3. If you'd like another 2 buttons, 1 in each of the half fans at the edges, you can definitely give that a go. I really like the look of just the 3 central buttons, but you should definitely experiment and see what you prefer the look of. I'm going to mark those spots with my stitch markers. I'll just ease this down a bit, but keep it lined up, and then I can slip the markers in. And the nice thing about working with single crochet is that you can use the rows of stitches to count up to where you want the buttons to go. Single crochet has such nice, neat rows. Time to get sewing. I've got myself a bit of yarn. This is approximately 4 times the width of the scarf, and it will be enough to do the 3 buttons and sew the scarf together. I'm going to sew 1 button on with you and then leave you to do the other 2. Then we'll do a little bit of the joining together. Then I'll leave you to it, and after you've done all that hard work, I'll show you some lovely finished crochet as a nice reward. You need to start by attaching your yarn to the back of your scarf. and you should be familiar with how to do that because it is essentially the same as weaving in your tails. So locate the spot you're going to sew on the button, which is about there, I think, and that's where you need to weave in or attach your yarn. I'm going to oversew 3 times. So I'm taking my yarn back and forth under the single crochet stitches. That little bit of fluffy tail that's poking out, you can see that, but when I snip that off, this is going to be really discreet. I'll show you. Unless you knew that was there, I think you'd struggle to find where I've attached the yarn. Now I'll take the needle to the front. I'm just going to check I'm in line with the marker. Okay. Slip the button onto the needle. Take the needle down through the other hole and out into the back of my scarf again. The only thing to be cautious of here is making sure the button is flush against the crochet. You don't want it to gape. That looks good. Then oversew a couple of times. I'm going to use this same bit of yarn to attach all 3 buttons. But I want to oversew a couple of times before I take my needle along under the stitches to get to where I want to sew on the middle button. Once I've got to where I'm in line with that marker, I'll oversew again before I sew on the middle button. So I'll leave you to sew on the next 2 buttons in the same way. Before you sew the ends together, button it up and check it's sitting nicely. When you sew the ends together, make sure all the edges are lined up nicely. Attach your yarn like we did for the buttons, or keep the piece of yarn you used for the buttons going for the joining. As well as sewing along the top of the fan pattern, you could sew down each of the sides a bit, or you may prefer to leave them loose to add to the illusion that the buttons are functional. As all I'm doing is sewing these ends together, I don't have a lot of advice for you here. I just suggest that when you're sewing, you use your knowledge of crochet to decide where to place your stitches. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I've brought the needle to the front of my work, but rather than just stitching back down and leaving a visible stitch, I'm slipping my needle into the double crochet, and then I take the needle back down. So the stitch is hidden inside the double crochet. I think of it as sewing like a crocheter. I hope that makes sense. So here's my mum modeling the gorgeous scarf done in a variegated yarn, and it just looks, it looks gorgeous. You see there's no buttons on this one. It looks good without the buttons. Mum, could you turn so we can see the matching slouchy? Check it out. I'm gonna have this pattern up soon. Turn around now, Mum. So guys, my mum has been admiring this the whole time I've been making it, and I told her it was for me, but it's not, it's for her. Merry Christmas, Mum.
I love it. Have I mentioned how much I love it?
You might have, maybe 10, 15, 20 times.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Really love this. And if we get snow on Christmas Day, this is what I'm wearing.